How's it going, everybody? My name is Release Radar, and in today's video, we answer the question, is the Quest 3 worth it in 2025? Let's get into it. So I just want to open up this review the same way I always do, with talking about build quality. And honestly, for the price, the build quality of the Quest 3 is pretty good. It feels super comfortable to wear with the right head strap, which I'll just go ahead and talk about right now. I have the Bobo VR MK3, I believe what it's called, or like the Bobo VR M3 Pro head strap on this thing. And that's because, well, two reasons. One, the default head strap on the Quest 3 is extremely uncomfortable. And two, this is a battery-powered head strap. So it has these batteries back here. So if I turn that on, you can see the lights. This has got 3 out of 4 cells charged, as you can see right there. And I have 3 of these batteries. So whenever this dies, you can simply just take it off and then put another one on and put that on the charger. And if you lose the charger, you can even charge the batteries at the top with USB Type-C. So I will have this head strap linked below in the description. If you're curious, it literally plugs right into the headset and keeps your headset continuously charged so you can have extended VR play sessions. Other than the head strap, I really have no other problems with the quality of the headset itself, which is this right here. The rest of the headset that you can see is just the head strap, but this is the actual headset. I think the speakers compared to the HTC Vive, even with the Pro Audio strap and the Quest 2, the speakers on the Quest 3 sound great. The picture quality through the built-in cameras is awesome, and I will talk about the augmented reality features later on in this video. But overall, I really like the build quality of this device, and it even has the ability for you to rotate this little rocker right here to adjust the distance between your eyes for different people with different eye distances. And at the bottom, you even got a nice little volume rocker for the volume that you play through the device. Now, the controllers that come with the Quest 3 are pretty standard, and by default, they come with something kind of akin to the Wii remote where you would tie it around your wrist. Now, I have replaced those. This is actually an official Meta accessory that allows you to hold your controller with a similar profile to like a Valve Knuckle controller, because I did have Valve Knuckle controllers before getting these. And whenever I would open my hand, when they had the wrist straps on, they would just start to dangle from my wrist, and that was driving me crazy. So if you play a lot of games that require you to open and close your hands a lot, like Blade and Sorcery, for example, I would recommend getting these. Now, I'm sure you can get them third party, but I got the official Meta ones from Walmart, so I also have these little controller holders, I guess, or controller grips linked down below in the description. But these controllers are pretty standard VR controllers, as you can see. You got your full suite ABXY, 2 joysticks. You have your options button on this controller and your meta button on this controller. And then you also have 2 grips and 2 triggers. So overall, pretty standard VR controllers, but I kind of like these a little bit better than the Valve Knuckle controllers for one reason in particular, and that is whenever I was playing Skyrim VR, the button to holster your weapons is to hit the grip. But I would just be holding the controller and it would just automatically holster my weapon. I guess my grip is just too strong or something. I don't know. I've had other people who have not had that problem, and I don't even feel like I'm gripping the controller that hard. But with this being an actual button rather than a sensor like on the Valve Knuckle controllers, I can actually decide when I press it so I can still hold the controller while holding my weapon instead of accidentally putting my sword away in Skyrim VR in the middle of a fight, because that was driving me crazy. But now, with the physical stuff out of the way, let's just go ahead and talk about the specs of the device. And so I'm going to be using a website called VR Compare, and I'll be putting the specs of the Quest 3 as well, if you're curious, the specs of the Quest 2. And I will say, full stop, the resolution of the Quest 3 is about 30% higher than the Quest 2. But with that out of the way, for $500, you can get the 128GB model, which is what I have. But there's also a 512GB model for $650. And the main reason why I went with the cheaper model is because I don't really own any games locally on the Quest 3 other than what came with the device. All of the games that I play are PC VR streamed via Steam Link from my PC to my Quest. I'll talk about all of that later on in the video, but I don't use AirLink because I could never get AirLink to work with the speakers on the Quest. I use Steam Link. But continuing with the specifications of the Quest 3 as well as comparing it to the Quest 2, which has a starting price of $299. The Quest 3 has pancake lenses, while the Quest 2 has Fresnel lenses. The Quest 3 has an IPD range of 58 to 71 millimeters, while the Quest 2 only has 58 to 68. So there's a little bit of lead there with the Quest 3. You can actually get prescription lenses sold separately with the Quest 3 if need be, and pass-through. The Quest 3 has those cameras at the front of it, so it has dual 18 ppd color pass-through cameras, while on the Quest 2, you just get grayscale. And while grayscale doesn't look great for pass-through, at least the option's there if you need it. But wrapping up the specifications, the display type on the Quest 3 is 2 times LCD panels, while on the Quest 2, it's just a single fast switch LCD panel. And, well, resolution, Quest 3 takes the lead at 2064 by 2208 pixels per eye, while the Quest 2 is only at 1832 by 1920 pixels per eye. But both devices do have the same refresh rate at 120 Hz. And of course, the Quest 3 is more powerful as it has the second generation of the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 system on a chip, while the Quest 2 only has the XR2 Pro, not the second generation version of that chip. Admittedly, I will say that I don't have much experience gaming on standalone on the Quest 3. I've played Wrath of the Gods, I believe the game is called 3 or something like that. I'll put the title up on the screen right now of the game that I'm thinking of, but that came with my headset, so I dabbled in that a little bit, never really made it that far through the game, because as I've said earlier in the video, I use PC VR, streamed via Steam Link from my gaming PC to my VR headset, and right now I'm going to just break that down for you guys. It's pretty easy to set up and it's pretty easy to understand, but I will say full stop, you have to have good internet unless you want to use a link cable, which I chose to avoid because I don't want to be tethered to a cable. That's the main reason why I got the Quest 3 instead of the Valve Index. And so this setup works the same way as if you were to install Steam Link on your phone or on your TV. I've made YouTube videos about Steam Link in the past. I did a short about how you can have Steam Link on an Android TV to stream your PC games from your gaming PC to your TV anywhere in the house, but you got to have good internet or that input delay will be insane. And in VR, not only do you get input delay, but you get insane screen tearing, and the games just don't keep up at all if you don't have good internet. So good internet is a requirement to set this up, but you just install Steam Link on the Quest 3 through the MetaQuest store. You get a little code to type in. You type in that code on your gaming PC with Steam signed in onto it, and then bam, it's that simple to set up. As I said, the main reason that I did this is just to not have a wire tangled to me, because when I had my HTC Vive, having a wire attached to me at all times would just drive me crazy. So if you don't have good internet and you can't get Steam Link to work very well and everything's super choppy, just get a link cable and you'll pretty much achieve the same result. You'll just be tethered to your PC. So now I'm going to put the headset on and just give you an example of what the camera and the microphone look and sound like, as well as just run you through the software on the Quest 3, which in my opinion is pretty intuitive. And we're just going to run through a couple different games as well, so you can just get an idea as to how VR looks and feels on the Quest 3. If you're curious, I'll have my gaming PC specs on the screen right now. So if you're wondering what hardware I'm rocking, that's what I'm using to play VR. And yeah, let's just go ahead and take a tour through the Quest 3 ecosystem and play a few games. Okay, so now I have the headset on. I am in the headset software, and you can see that I've recorded videos before. I did a Facebook post and just shared it with my friends and family using the Quest 3 in an app called, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like an app where you can use the Quest to play the piano. So if you want to see what that looks like, I can kind of give you a little rundown. I don't want to get a copyright strike, but that's basically what it is. You see the notes coming at you, and you can play the piano as you do that. Unfortunately, I don't have my piano anymore, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So this is the software on the Quest 3. And overall, it is super fluid to use. So I'm just going to run through some basic things. You always have this tab open on the other side right here, and that just gives you popular worlds to explore and the Meta Horizon, the whole thing. But I don't use Meta Horizon World because I play VR chat when I play on my Quest. If I want to just talk to random people and, you know, experience interesting things, to say the least. But this is what it looks like. And there's a couple cool things you can do with the whole augmented reality like experience on the Quest. So one thing that I do sometimes is ignore my boundary. It's drawn poorly because I have good spatial awareness in VR, so I'm not going to run into anything. But you can use YouTube on the Quest in pass-through mode, I believe, right? This is something that I did a lot when I was living in my old apartment with my partner at the time. I would pull up this and I would grab the window, which you can just grab like that, and I would move it. Let's say this is my little kitchenette here. So let's say I want to do the dishes, which I don't have a dishwasher in this little kitchenette. But let's say I want to cook something. So I find a YouTube video that I want to watch. And because this is augmented reality, you don't have to use the controllers for this. So I can put the controllers down and just kind of scroll with my hands. With this, you can pull up a YouTube video. I'm going to turn this down because you're hearing me talk in this video and actually speaking in this video. I'll just mute it. And then you can hit play, and you can, you know, cook, make some coffee. You can cook food in your air fryer or whatever while YouTube's open. And let's say you move to a different part of the room, you can kind of grab the screen like that, put it there. You can full screen it, and you can do what you're doing in real life while also watching YouTube in augmented reality. So, I'm cooking food, I'm watching the YouTube video. That's a really cool thing you can do with the Quest 3. And by the way, another really cool use case for this could be you're watching a video on how to cook a certain meal while cooking the meal, watching the recipe in augmented reality while also cutting up your vegetables like your onions or whatever else and cooking the meal while watching the tutorial on how to cook a specific crockpot meal or whatever. That could be really cool and also just like very helpful. But with all of that out of the way, this software is pretty fluid, pretty intuitive, very easy to use. You can use it with your fingers by scrolling or just with the controller by doing this. I can also do it with my finger, as you can see, do it with the controller. It doesn't really matter. It's a little weird because like you're clicking something that's not actually there. So doing that is a little strange sometimes. But this, I will say, is what I use to play my PC games in PC VR with the Quest. This is the Steam Link app, and I can use this to wirelessly connect my Quest 3 to my gaming PC, which is right there with the blue fans on it. And then I click the little connect button, and it'll do its thing right here. So it's connecting. And then bam, just like that, I am in PC VR. It loads. And this is just the standard Steam VR layout. And with this, you can look at all the games that you have installed and click on one and play it pretty much flawlessly, depending on your internet speed, in PC VR. So this is the way that I play most of my VR games here. So anything from VR Chat, Arizona Sunshine, Half-Life 2 VR mod, which by the way, this is completely free. It's absolutely awesome. So the Halo VR mod is also absolutely free, and I'll link a video tutorial on how to get that down below if you're curious. But you can play so many great games in PC VR wirelessly. You don't have to worry about being tangled up by a cable, because I almost got a Valve Index when I got the Quest, but I ended up going with the Quest simply because wireless. It's awesome if your internet can handle it. But before we get into some of my favorite VR games to play, I just want to let you guys know that the selection of games to play on VR is just super small. And whenever I talk about VR with friends, this comes up in conversation. And it's the fact that there's not a lot of good AAA quality games in VR. So not that many people are buying VR headsets. But because there's not that many people buying VR headsets, not a lot of game companies are making AAA VR quality games. So we have this spiraling endless circle effect of no games, but no customers. And the customers are like, but no games. And the game companies are like, but no customers. And it's just this never-ending circle that isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon. And while the Quest 2 was awesome for the VR community, getting a lot of people in the door, it is so underpowered. And even the Quest 3 is so underpowered compared to what PC VR can do that arguably both the Quest 2 and 3 are just kind of holding back VR as a whole, especially when companies are making exclusive titles specifically for the Quest 3 and the Quest 2. Because PC VR, in my opinion, is where VR honestly shines the brightest. And that's why I use the Quest 3 with PC VR rather than standalone, because the best games and the best versions of the best games are just straight up not playable standalone on the Quest headsets. But with that out of the way, let's just go ahead and talk about some of my favorite games to play through PC VR. So first up, VR Chat. I've talked about this game a few times throughout the video, and it's honestly just a chill space just to sit down, talk to people. There's some really weird stuff that happens on that game, but it's really easy to avoid the really weird stuff and just chill out, go to public lobbies, make friends, talk to people from around the world, and just, make new friends to game with. And that's why I love VR Chat. I made some of my best friends through that game that I still play Marvel Rivals and Minecraft and stuff with to this day. Next up is Blade and Sorcery, which is like a medieval kind of gladiatorial arena style game. There's a bunch of different mods and maps you can install, and you have a full body with full physics. You can wear armor, you can use a bunch of different swords and knives and bows, and there's also mods that introduce things like lightsabers to the game. And I've talked about Blade and Sorcery a few other times on this channel when talking about VR. The game is incredibly gruesome and violent, but it's honestly so much fun just to turn your brain off and just swing swords around and fight people. And it's all virtual, so it's all fun and games quite literally. But Blade and Sorcery is honestly one of my favorite VR games, and when you get locked in and you start moving a lot, you'll build up a little bit of a sweat in VR just playing that game, fighting off waves of enemies. It's a lot of fun. And while there are a bunch of other paid games like Pavlov and Into the Radius 2, there's a bunch of fun VR games that are paid. There's also mods for either pre-existing games that you own or just come included with the full game. Like the Halo Combat Evolved full VR mod, there is a little bit of jank playing Halo in VR, especially during the vehicle sections, but being able to experience all of Halo Combat Evolved in VR is something that I've always wanted to do, and it's here now thanks to an incredible modder. I'll have a link to the mod as well as a video on how to set it up down in the description below. Also, Half-Life 2, you can play the entirety of Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2 fully in VR thanks to a free mod that's actually just on Steam. So you can type in Half-Life 2 VR mod on Steam and it'll be right there. And so those are just two other examples of completely free versions of games that are just incredible to play in VR, and being able to experience Half-Life 2 and Halo Combat Evolved and even Minecraft in VR is so much fun. And I have such a deep love for the medium of VR. I do think it's genuinely the future, and it's so infuriating that the technology is here, but the games just aren't. So now we're at the point of the video where I'm going to discuss whether or not I genuinely believe that it's worth it for you to pick up a Quest 3 in 2025. And the answer honestly boils down to if you are interested in the augmented reality features. Yes, I know that the Quest 3 has 30% more pixels per eye than the Quest 2, so it is a technical higher resolution, but when it comes to gaming on the Quest 2, you're getting pretty much the exact same experience as it has the exact same refresh rate. And I genuinely don't believe that you're going to notice the difference in visuals between the 2 and the 3, because I went from an HTC Vive, which came out in like 2016, to a Quest 2, and that difference was huge. And then I ended up selling my Vive, selling my index controllers, and then I returned the Quest 2, got the Quest 3. The difference between the 2 and the 3 was barely noticeable, if even noticeable at all to me. So I genuinely could not see a difference between the 2 and the 3. So unless you care about augmented reality, the 3 is not even really worth it. And even if you do care about augmented reality, I haven't mentioned this in the video yet for this exact reason, the Quest 3S exists, which is a cheaper version of the Quest 3 that can basically do everything at a slightly lower resolution, but it also has the augmented reality if that's what you care about. So that's another reason that I just I'm hesitant to recommend that you guys pick up a Quest 3 because of that. But also, do keep in mind that the Quest 2 is nearing end of life as a product, and support of that device will end, which means if anything breaks, or if you want to pick up third-party accessories or whatever, it's just going to progressively get harder and harder as time goes on. But it's also $200 cheaper than the Quest 3. So is the Quest 3 worth it? Well, honestly, I would say no. If you only plan to game. If you plan on using Steam VR via Steam Link to stream your games wirelessly, the Quest 2, which I've done a review on this channel before, works great for that, just as the Quest 3 does, but at $200 less. And if you really care about augmented reality, but you're not sure you're going to go all in on it, you could get the Quest 3, or you could get the Quest 3S. But all of these devices are substantially cheaper than the Apple Vision Pro, for example, which is kind of faded out of the cultural zeitgeist already. I find that very interesting. Nobody talks about that thing anymore. But the Quest 3 is just in a weird position with the existence of the 3S being basically the same thing at a lower resolution and a lower price. And the Quest 2, if you don't care about augmented reality, I don't see a reason to get the 3 unless you really want that 30% more pixel density. So is the Quest 3 worth it in 2025? Honestly, I don't know if it is. I love this headset and I'm very happy with it because it is a huge upgrade over my HTC Vive, but also so was the Quest 2. And once again, that's $200 cheaper. So honestly, I don't know if I can recommend the Quest 3 unless you really want to just have the most modern MetaQuest headset. But then again, the 3S exists, and all of that just kind of puts the Quest 3 in this weird spot where I don't know if I can genuinely recommend it. But that's about it for this review here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you own a 3? Do you own a 2? Do you own a Valve Index? Do you own an HTC Vive? Do you enjoy playing VR? Are you hesitant to get into VR? Let me know about all that stuff down below in the comments. My name's Release Radar, and I'll catch you guys in the next video of whatever I make. Peace.